Hello, I'm Sensei Alex Kakio. Thanks for joining me this evening for Dharma Sunday, where we take canonical Buddhist teachings and tie them with everyday life. The title of today's talk is The Great Resignation. Everyone is quitting their jobs. Before we get into that, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. So there's an interesting trend that's going on right now in social media where loads and loads of people are quitting their jobs more than ever before. And not only are they quitting, but they're posting TikTok videos and Facebook videos and tweeting things on Twitter, giving people a play-by-play on both the reasons they're quitting their jobs and what they hope to do in the future. This is interesting because even as more and more jobs become available, fewer and fewer people are willing to take them. So we're going to read an article today about why this is happening, what people are doing, and then I'll talk about livelihood, specifically right livelihood, as it pertains to Buddhist practice. So let's get into it. This article comes from www.msn.com. It's entitled, TikTokers are going viral with QuitTok videos about quitting their jobs as the Great Resignation inspires social media trends. Article was written by Charlotte Colombo. And it says, a TikTok subculture devoted to stories of people leaving their jobs behind has garnered hundreds of millions of views as the US sees a mass exodus of employees. As previously reported by Insider, resignations in the US are at a 2-decade high. September 2021 data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics showed that at least 4.4 million people quit their jobs in the preceding months. The phenomenon has been dubbed the Great Resignation, and experts have speculated reasons may include feeling undervalued by employers, the pandemic changing people's perspective, and an abundance of different job opportunities being available among other potential factors. As the Great Resignation continues, TikTokers have been creating content known as QuitToks, with a notable increase in these videos appearing to come during the recent autumn and winter months. They feature people preparing for and handing in their resignation as it happens or recounting the story retroactively. Many of these TikToks include the tags #QuitMyJob and #IQuitMyJob, which have 194.7 million and 41 million views, respectively. Various individual TikToks about people's resignation experiences have gone viral over the past couple of months, with many racking up millions of views. In one TikTok posted in November with over 11 million views, user XOUnique appears to quit her job via an expletive-filled Tannoy announcement. And another, user Alikane Wanderlust, shares her experience of quitting her job, selling all her possessions, and living in Bali with 2.1 million viewers. Users LA The Man and Maddie Loves Potatoes also shared viral TikToks within days of each other, where they both said they quit their teaching jobs, citing reasons like burnout and issues within the education sector as a whole. Ex-employees are posting about quitting their jobs in other social media platforms too. On Twitter, multiple tweets have gone viral as people quit their jobs to follow a new career, improve their mental health, travel, or start their own business. So that gives you the general idea. Again, the article can be found at msn.com, and it's entitled, TikTokers are going viral with QuitTok videos about quitting their jobs as the Great Resignation inspires social media trends, written by Charlotte Colombo. So, that's interesting. Now, a lot of people have said, well, millennials just don't want to work anymore. And other people have said, well, there are excellent reasons why people are quitting their jobs. And I think it's a little bit of both. I think some people are just burnt out by the pandemic and they have a new perspective on life and they don't want to spend the next 30 years racking up time for retirement. They'd rather live their dreams now rather than waiting until they retire at 65. Also, I think there's some feelings about being undervalued by employers as well. Now, instead of getting into the politics of the issue, what I want to focus on, however, is right livelihood as it's taught in Buddhism and how that pertains to the Buddhist worldview around work and labor. Now, right livelihood is the fifth tenet of the Noble Eightfold Path. And this is important because a lot of times we think that as Buddhists, we're not supposed to work, that our practice would be more powerful if we didn't have a job, if we lived in a monastery full time, that we're somehow dirty if we handle money or pay bills. But that's incorrect. The fifth tenet of the Noble Eightfold Path tells us that it's okay to earn a wage. It's okay to have a job. In fact, it's beneficial to us and others, so long as that job is in keeping with Dharma principles, that it embodies wisdom, compassion, and mercy. Now, that said, there are 5 forbidden professions that we as Buddhists believe they are so negative, they have so much bad karma attached to them, that we refuse to participate. And these professions are animal butchery, selling weapons, selling poison, selling intoxicants, and slavery. So those 5 things, we as Buddhists we don't do it. But if your job isn't one of those 5 tenets, which I just reflected on, then you're in the clear. Your job is in keeping with Buddhist practice, and the goal shouldn't be to quit the job for greater spirituality. Rather, it's to look on the job as a way to engage in deeper spirituality. Now, that might sound strange to some people because we as Americans have a very unhealthy aversion to work. In fact, certain jobs are seen as beneath us or they're looked down upon, especially if they don't require college degrees. If you look at garbage men, if you look at janitors, if you look at farmers, fishermen, anyone who's a tradesman or work with their hands, oftentimes are seen as less than or not as important. Worse yet, even if we have one of these so-called high status jobs, we allow that to decide who we are as people. We don't judge our value based on our Buddha nature. We don't judge our value based on the benefit we provide to others. Instead, we base our self-worth on the status our job has, right? So maybe we feel the need to put down other people so that we can boost ourselves up. Maybe we have low self-esteem because there are other people around us that have more prestigious jobs, more prestigious work titles than we do. I'm a project manager, but she's a senior project manager. I make a good living, I pay my bills, but did you see that guy's house? It's twice as big as mine. So there's a lot of unnecessary pressure for us to push down other people and boost ourselves up at the same time. And it's very unhealthy. Beyond that, we do everything we can to avoid work, especially work that's seen as not having the right amount of status. Everyone wants to be a politician, everyone wants to be an actor, no one wants to take out the trash or wash the dishes. Everyone wants to live a life of leisure as opposed to living a life of work, a life of labor. And this doesn't mean that every second of our life has to be involved in back-breaking work, but if we look at the Buddhist teachings, we see that Buddhism is a religion of work. It's a religion of labor. In fact, one of the things that really attracted me to Buddhist practice was the example set by the Bodhisattvas, who are celestial beings who have realized full enlightenment, but have chosen to not leave the cycle of samsara until all sentient beings can leave with them, until all sentient beings realize awakening. And when we look at the Bodhisattvas, one of the things that I'm always struck by is they don't stay off floating in a cloud. They don't live in a heaven realm separate from everyone else. Rather, they come down here to earth. They get in the dirt with us. They put their shoulder to the wheel right next to us and work for the benefit of others. We see this in Kannan, who's the bodhisattva of compassion. She's also the patron of fishermen. We see this in Amida, the Buddha of infinite light, who created a pure land that all beings can go to if they have faith in him, but he's also the patron of farmers. Now, this is important because especially during the time that Japanese Buddhism was coming into its own, fishermen, farmers, again, were the lowest of the low. They were looked down upon. So the fact that these high up beings, these celestial individuals, focused on the lowest of the low, in quotation marks, as opposed to spending time with kings and saints, politicians, etc., it tells you the type of view we should have as Buddhists. We also see this in the example of the historical Buddha, who was a warrior prince. He was a member of the nobility. But when he started to walk the spiritual path, when he began his monastic community, he allowed everyone to enter into it, including women who were seen as lesser than men at the time, including Dalits, who were seen as the lowest of the low on the caste system. And the reason for this is that the society in the time of the Buddha was very bifurcated. So you had the Brahmin, who were priests and who were spiritual, and they were good people because they were up here and they didn't work with money, they didn't do physical labor, they were very spiritual people. They were outside their bodies as much as possible. But then you had the Dalits, who were farmers and fishermen and hunters who worked leather and things of that nature, very physical, embodied people. Again, the lowest of the low, looked down upon because of the type of work they did. But the Buddha, in his wisdom, said, no, they have Buddha nature too. They deserve honor and veneration just like us, and he allowed them to enter into his community. I can see this lived out in my own life, in fact. So here at the homestead, we had a leaky basement for a long time. It didn't flood, but when it rained a lot, we got some pretty large puddles to the point where we couldn't use that space for anything. And there was fear that mold would start to develop because it was so damp. So over a period of 4 days, laborers came to the homestead, they worked in the basement, and they waterproofed it. Now it's raining even as I record this talk, and the basement is bone dry. Now we can use that space again. Now there's no fear of mold or sickness that could have come from that. 4 days of work on their part saved me and my household a lifetime of suffering. What is that if not the embodiment of Buddhist principle? It's the embodiment of wisdom, compassion, and mercy. We also see this in some work I did when I was in Indiana. I built a tiny house, or I helped to build a tiny house. There were other people on the crew. And we installed a wood stove that people could use for heat, and we put clay slip on the walls for insulation so it would absorb heat during the day and radiate it into the house at night to keep people warm. There was a hookup for solar panels. And I did that with other people over a period of about 5 months, and it was cold and it was hard work, and I was okay at it, but I wasn't the best, I'll be honest. That said, even as I give this talk, someone is sleeping in the house that I helped to build. I'm keeping them warm, I'm keeping them safe, not through the words I'm talking right now, but through my labor, through my work. And what's beautiful is just like that crew that waterproofed the basement helped me and my household, saved us from suffering as Buddhists are wont to do, we can do the same through our work, through our labor. So for a Buddhist, work isn't something to be avoided. Instead, it's deep spiritual practice. We see this anytime we spend time in a Buddhist temple. Now, oftentimes when we go on retreat and we have to wash the dishes or sweep the floor or work in the garden or cut the grass or whatever work needs to be done during the day, as Westerners who are averse to work, who think it's beneath us, we think we're not doing the real practice. We think real Buddhist practice is only done on the cushion or in front of our altars. But Through our labor in the temple, what we are doing is creating the ideal conditions for practice to be possible. I don't know if you ever tried to meditate on an empty stomach, but it's pretty miserable. I don't know if you've ever done prostration, starting from a standing position to putting our head on the floor, but if the meditation hall is dirty, it's not fun to get up and see a big dust spot on your forehead. So the person who sweeps the floor has a very important job to do because they make the prostrations possible. So again, physical labor, our work, whatever it is, whether we work in front of a computer or we work at a factory, very important, very powerful. These robes that I'm wearing right now, I've had these for many years. I don't know how many times I've worn them, but it's probably in the thousands at this point, whether I'm giving a talk or I'm leading a retreat or some other ministerial function. But someone had to dye these robes, someone had to design them, someone had to sew them together. So every time I wear them, they are benefiting me, they are benefiting the Dharma, they're benefiting everyone I'm working with. One action, making one robe, 10,000 beings benefit. So how many more benefit every time you sweep the floor, every time you send an email, every time you build a report, take out the trash, whatever your work is? Multiple tens of thousands of beings benefit every day from the work you do. You are saving beings from suffering through your labor, which again is at the heart of Buddhist practice. Work in Buddhism is also seen as a devotional practice. We're taught that a big part of our suffering comes from the illusion of a separate self. We believe that we're over here and other people are over there. Thus, my work is here and their work is there, and I need to work in such a way that I benefit myself more than others, and I don't do something else if it's someone else's job. And it's exhausting and it's unhelpful. But if we devote ourselves to the benefit of others, if we do the work simply because it needs to be done, with no thought of whether this helps me or helps other people more, that illusion breaks down. Those aren't my dirty dishes in the sink, or those aren't someone else's pieces of trash in the trash can. It's just dirty dishes in the sink. It's just trash in the trash can. And when we clean the dishes, when we empty the trash, we break down that separation between us and them. We are benefiting ourselves by benefiting other people. Even better, we are making life improved for the people who come after us. We're ending their suffering because now they don't have to deal with a sink of dirty dishes or a trash can full of trash or a floor covered in dirt. Work, labor is spiritual practice. I would even go so far that at times it may be even more important than the practice we do on our cushions or in front of our altars, because there's an immediate benefit both to ourselves and to other people as well. But that's easy to forget. So one helpful thing we can do is a mindfulness practice, which I'll share with you right now. And all we do is we sit down in a comfortable position and we reflect on our job. And if we don't have a formal job with an employer, or we're not self-employed, maybe we're unemployed, we reflect on the work we do at our house every day. So whether we're a server in a restaurant, whether we're a janitor, an Uber driver, whatever, we think about the work we do, and then we think about the people who benefit from that work. So if we're an Uber driver, well, how many people did I drive today? How many people would not have been able to get where they were going if I hadn't done my work? If we're a server at a restaurant, well, how many meals did I serve today? How many people didn't have to endure the suffering of hunger because I brought them food? If we work at a computer, let's say we're a secretary, how many people got their calls in a timely manner? How many people got to their meetings and Others didn't have to wait on them and they got to go home to their families in a timely manner because I was moving the schedule around, because I was managing the switchboard. And we just reflect on that. Sit down and think of 5 people that benefit from the work you do every day. And every time, and it's going to happen, it happens to all of us, anytime you start to get down on yourself, anytime you start to feel bad that maybe your work isn't important, or maybe you're just having a bad day at work because it happens, sit and think about the people who benefit from what you're doing and remind yourself that you are doing the Buddha's work, that you are bringing wisdom, compassion, and mercy into the world just by showing up. Amitabha. So, that's the talk for today. I hope it was helpful. I'll just end with a few announcements. First, please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. So this was Dharma Sunday. It happens every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's simply me taking some topic from the news or pop culture and reflecting on it from the Buddhist perspective, taking canonical Buddhist teachings and tying them with everyday life. On Wednesdays, we engage in a practice that's a bit more involved. That's meditation and sutra study. 7 p.m. also broadcast from this channel, and that involves a 15-minute guided meditation, a reading from Buddhist scripture, followed by a Dharma talk. So again, that's 7 p.m. on Wednesday. I hope to see you there. Until next time, Amitabha.